Hey guys, it's Miss Melissa, and I'm back again this week, and we're going to do another lesson together. We are on a lesson that is called Nehemiah and the Walls of Jerusalem. And a point in this lesson is going to be compassion, the loving and helping God's people. So last week when we stopped, we had learned how Ezra had just returned to Jerusalem to help his people, and King Xerxes was one that helped him make this move and lead the people back by providing him gold and silver and making a safe trip, and also giving him authority to help the people when he got there. Where we're going to start today for Nehemiah and the walls of Jerusalem, we're in Persia again. We're in the capital, and Nehemiah was a servant of King Xerxes. He was a Jew, but he lived in Persia. So this is about 13 years after Ezra had just gone back to Jerusalem, and Nehemiah started hearing from family and friends about what had happened. Remember, Ezra had made it back and realized that the people were not following God's law and his word. So he was leading the people to pray and be forgiven by God. So Nehemiah had heard about this from family and friends, and it made him sad as well. He knew that the city was in bad shape. So he was sorry to hear all this, and he was sad, so he began to pray to God about it. And Nehemiah decided that he wanted to return to Jerusalem as well to help his people. He prayed to God that King Xerxes would give him permission. That's something our last Ezra did also. He prayed, and he had to go to the same king, King Xerxes, and ask permission to make the trip back to Jerusalem. So the king noticed that Nehemiah was sad and asked what was wrong. Nehemiah told him about Jerusalem and how the people that had gone back were doing the bad things again. They were marrying outside. They were worshiping other gods. They were not following God's word. So King Xerxes gave Nehemiah permission to return, and he gave him materials for building because Nehemiah thought, I want to go and I want to rebuild Jerusalem. This is how I can help the people to rebuild Jerusalem and make it the home again, and encourage them more to follow God's word. So when King Xerxes gave Nehemiah the permission to return, and he gave him the materials to help rebuild Jerusalem, Nehemiah knew, just like Ezra knew, that this was the work of God. God was working through King Xerxes and helping him make that decision. People had to have courage to go to work. So when Nehemiah got there, once Nehemiah got to Jerusalem, he secretly went and he checked out the walls. He didn't want anybody to know what he was planning. He wanted to make sure he went and checked out the walls. He wanted to get a game plan before he let anyone know what he was going to do. So he didn't want the people to know what he's doing. After he looked at the walls, Nehemiah spoke with the leaders of Jerusalem about rebuilding. They said, absolutely, let's go rebuild. Let's make this better. They were eager to get to work. But not everyone was eager to get to work. Some people were against rebuilding and tried to stop it. They even thought that rebuilding the wall and rebuilding Jerusalem was against the king, and they didn't want it. They didn't want to be any part of it, and they didn't want them to be successful in doing it. So some of the people were against the rebuilding. They were scared that Jerusalem might be strong again. They didn't want it, and do you think maybe these people are the ones that they're okay with doing wrong? They don't want the city to be strong again and be God's place again, because they probably like doing wrong. And if it's rebuilt and better, they're going to have to change their ways. They tried to discourage the builders by making fun of their work. Nehemiah helped the people be strong. He continued to pray, and he had them pray with him, and he told them that God would help them do the work and complete it. This encouraged the people. Nehemiah praying with them, praying to God, and encouraging them to pray to God. This helped the people want to work and to keep building. The men who were against the work, though, they did not let up. They got started rebuilding. Nehemiah's got everybody in a good place. They're ready to rebuild. They're working hard, and they still have to keep fighting with some of these others that do not want them to be successful. they planned to attack the workers. So Nehemiah had prayed to God about the work. He started hearing that they're going to be attacked. He wanted his people to stay strong, to continue to rebuild. So he heard about this and he began to pray to God about the work. And he also got a little smart too, prayed to God about it to keep them safe and to fight for them. But he also built, like a lot of your homes probably, a security system. You know, if you're not paying attention or you're off doing something else, you want to know if something's happening at your house or on your wall while your workers are working. Nehemiah prayed and he set up a warning system in case builders were attacked somewhere on the wall. He gave the workers weapons and assigned guards. The workers had courage to keep building. So the workers that were working on the wall knew they might get attacked. They knew the risk and they continued to pray. And how they did it is they kind of split everybody up. I'm going to read from Nehemiah. From that day on, half of the men did the work, while the other half were equipped with spears, shields, bows, and armor. The officers posted themselves behind the wall for the people of Judah, who were building the wall. Those who carried materials did their work with one hand and held a weapon in the other. And each of the builders wore his sword at his side while he worked. But the man who sounded the trumpet stayed with Nehemiah. Then I said to the nobles and the officials and the rest of the people, the work is extensive and spread out, and we are widely separated from each other. So this is him explaining why he's building this security system. He has all the workers ready to protect themselves. I'm going to use my hammer with this hand and have my sword ready in this one. Whenever you hear the sound of the trumpet, join us there. Our God will fight for us. So that was part of his system to let everyone know when an area was in trouble. Say we're all on this side working on the wall. All of a sudden you hear that trumpet playing over there. You're going to go and help the people that are working on the wall because they are being attacked. That was his warning system, to hear that trumpet. So they continued to work with half of the men holding spears. At the first light of dawn, the stars came out. And at that time, I also said to the people, have every man and his helper stay inside Jerusalem at night, so they can serve as a guard by night and as workers by day. So they're pulling double duty. They're helping rebuild Jerusalem. They're helping build the wall. Nehemiah has given them the courage to understand that God is going to work with them and protect them and fight with them. But he was smart. He put into place a security system to help them to know when they're going to be attacked and to be ready. So they have their security system. They're ready to go. People are they're going to attack. They just don't know when. But they continued their work. Nehemiah decided that to help rebuild the walls, and he stuck to his work. Some people were not Jews and tried to get the workers to stop, so he built his security system. But Nehemiah's leaders knew that the work was important, so they continued. They could have easily said, let's stop. It's not worth it. Our people might get hurt. But Nehemiah knew how important it was to do God's work by rebuilding this wall. One time, the enemies tried to get Nehemiah away from the city. Oh, they're trying something sneaky. Let's get Nehemiah out of here, then we can attack the workers. They asked Nehemiah to come to talk to them, and they planned to hurt him. They thought if Nehemiah were out of the way, work on the walls would stop. So maybe if we get rid of this one guy who's telling everybody to keep working and it's okay, they'll stop working. But Nehemiah saw through their tricks and said, I am doing great work and cannot come down. Sometimes there's problems and arguments among workers, but Nehemiah helped them solve their problems so they could keep on working. The damaged, crumbling walls of Jerusalem were rebuilt in 52 days. How did they do that? Because they decided to do it with God's help. So 52 days to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, even though they knew that they might be attacked at any minute. They had to continue to pray and keep courage that God would be with them, and they got the job done. So last week we did a few questions, and this week I'm going to do the same. My first question is, so the workers did what? They pulled a double duty. The workers had carried two things with them at all times. What were they? And let's do one more question. Let's see. What was the sound to know with the alarm system that Nehemiah put in place? What was the sound that would alert everyone that something was wrong, that an area of the wall was being attacked? What was the sound? What was played? So answer those questions. Again, you can email the church. I've talked to Miss Melanie in the office, and she'll get me any answers that come in. Parents can reach to me out on Facebook anyway. And I hope y'all have a great week.